3 Six-Man of the Year awards, Teammate of the Year, one of the best ball handlers the NBA has ever seen.
Up against Wes Matthews. That's see you later. This is one of those ankle-breaking moves.
Jamal Crawford was one of them ones. Did you know he used to hold the record for the most career 4-point plays in the NBA? Not only this, but on April 9th, 2019, he made history by becoming the oldest player to drop 50-plus points in the game and the only one to do it with 4 different teams. That night, his 51 points were the most points ever scored by a reserve player. And that ain't it. Crawford ranks 21st in the NBA with 4 50-point games and is 10th all-time in career three-pointers. Plus, he's one of just 2 players to score over 10,000 points off the bench. So how did he become so effective in this role? Well, we have to go back to the beginning. Aaron Jamal Crawford was born in Seattle, Washington on March 20th, 1980. A kid with a dream, he had his eyes set on the prize, to play in the NBA.
Yeah, I first fell in love with the game because my dad, a lot of people don't know, my dad played at the University of Oregon with Kevin Love's dad. So I've been around the game since I was 2.
That was Jamal's mantra as he grew up on the streets of Seattle. And guess what? By the time he was 3, he already had a basketball glued to his hands.
I had a basketball wherever I went. Wherever I went, everybody in the area would tell you, like, I'd be the kid dribbling the ball, come down the street, I see somebody and I shake them, they look back like, he's crazy, what's he doing? For real.
Yes, his sister Lori remembers it well. She said, he carried that basketball since the age of 3. By 5, we all knew he'd bring his ball everywhere. He was dedicated, too much sometimes. In fact, he was so dedicated, he was a multi-sport superstar in baseball, basketball, and football. But still, basketball was his first love. By the age of 7, he was already making waves on community teams, sharpening the skills that would eventually make him one of the best players we've ever seen. Things came to a bit of a halt when he had to go to California to live with his dad. School was tough, and without basketball, life just didn't feel right. So with his basketball in one hand and his bags packed in the other, Jamal made a bold move back to Seattle.
A lot of people don't know this. I ran away from home when I was living in LA. So I was with my dad from 13 to 16, and I ran away from LA to come back to Seattle. And so my mom and dad were never together. I was either with one or with the other one. And so when I came back at 16, I went to the gym immediately.
And it was time to set things straight. And he did. Back in Seattle, Crawford played for Rainier Beach High, a school that basically is an NBA talent factory with alums like Doug Christie, Nate Robinson, Terrence Williams, Kevin Porter Jr., and DeJounte Murray. Jamal led the Vikings to the 1998 Washington State Championship. With an impact so huge, they retired his number 23 jersey in 2001 and inducted him into their Hall of Fame in 2018. Crawford then took his skills to the University of Michigan, playing under coach Brian Ellerby. But just as the 1999-2000 season kicked off, the NCAA hit him with a 6-game suspension over some drama about his high school living situation.
So when I got here, I started meeting people, and I met somebody who helped me with tutoring, gave me clothes, like money for clothes and everything. He wasn't giving me money like, hey, I want you to go to this college, or I'm an AAU program, none of that. So it wasn't like he was a booster or alumni or AAU program. With that, they said I broke the rule of amateurism. It wasn't even a rule at the time. So once they did their due diligence and they saw I was cool, they were like, okay, well, we're going to reinstate you, right? But you got to miss a certain amount of games because they had banned me from college basketball.
But Jamal bounced back, joining the starting lineup, averaging 16 points, 4.5 assists, and 2 rebounds per game. And after his freshman year, he decided college was enough and declared for the 2000 NBA draft. And as they say, the rest is history. Drafted 9th overall in 2000 by the Cleveland Cavaliers, Jamal was traded to the Chicago Bulls on a draft day deal involving Chris Mim. And if you're wondering if he was an overnight success, that wasn't the case at all. Despite a monumental career with the University of Michigan, he had a rough start in his rookie year, shooting just 35% from the field. Despite all the struggles, he still managed to hit double figures in scoring on 10 occasions. Ultimately, he averaged 4 points, 1 rebound, and 2 assists over 61 games in his rookie season. His second season didn't cut him any slack either, and it was cut short by injury, limiting him to 23 games. Despite this, he stepped up his game, averaging 9 points and shooting 44% from beyond the arc. By his third season, Crawford finally showed what he was made of, becoming a crucial part of Bill Cartwright's offense, upping his stats 10 points, 2 rebounds, 4 assists, and a steal per game. In his fourth and what proved to be his final season with the Bulls, he averaged 17 points, 3 rebounds, 5 assists, and 1 steal per game. On April 11, 2004, he dropped a career-high 50 points against the Toronto Raptors, with 24 of those coming in the fourth quarter, helping the Bulls to a 114-108 overtime win. And his stakes were rising, and just like that, Jamal Crawford was traded to the New York Knicks. In his first season there, he made a strong impact, playing 70 games, averaging 17 points, 2 rebounds, 4 assists, and a steal per game. In this run of 70 games, he has several memorable games, like 41 points on 17 of 25 shooting in a win against the Charlotte Bobcats on December 4th. But despite all his efforts and hard work, the Knicks missed out on the playoffs that year. Coming into the next season, it was here that Crawford assumed the role of a sixth man. Under head coach Larry Brown, he needed some time to adjust, but he did, and he mastered that position to perfection, averaging 14 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists a game across 79 games. Fortunately for Crawford, it was another disappointing season for the Knicks. Although he had a very good individual season, the Knicks couldn't break into the playoff spot once again. Something had to change, and the change came in the form of a coaching swap of Larry Brown for Isaiah Thomas. Unfortunately, Crawford's season was hampered by an ACL injury, limiting him to just 59 games. But despite all the setbacks, he still averaged 17 points, 3 rebounds, and almost 5 assists per game. Crawford reclaimed his starting spot for all 80 games he played the following season. Not only this, he had a standout year averaging 20 points, 2 rebounds, and a full 5 assists per game. One unforgettable highlight came on January 26, 2007, when Crawford exploded for a career-high 52 points, hitting 16 consecutive shots and nailing 8 three-pointers, just one shy of the franchise record. This was the second time he has scored 50-plus points in his career. Then came 2009, and Crawford's tenure with the Knicks had ended after playing only 11 games that season, as he was traded to the Golden State Warriors in exchange for Al Harrington, marking a new chapter in his NBA journey. And Crawford was the perfect fit for Don Nelson's run-and-gun offense, thanks to his three-point shooting and, of course, that ball handling. In the 2008-2009 season, he played 54 games for the Warriors, starting every single one, and averaged nearly 20 points, 4 assists, and 1 rebound per game. His highlight reel of the season, though, came on December 20th, 2008, when Crawford dropped another 50 points in a 110-103 win over the Charlotte Bobcats. This made him the 4th player in NBA history, joining legends Wilt Chamberlain, Bernard King, and Moses Malone, to score 50 points with 3 different teams. The season ended, and Crawford was again on the move, this time taking his talents to the Atlanta Hawks, in exchange for guards AC Law and Speedy Claxton, who won that trade. And what a debut season he had with the Hawks. On January 15th, he nailed a buzzer-beating 3 to secure a 102-101 win over the Phoenix Suns. Then on February 3rd, he set the all-time record for the most career 4-point plays, surpassing Reggie Miller. Backing up all-star guards Joe Johnson and Mike Bibby, Crawford averaged 18 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists off the bench, earning him his first Sixth Man of the Year award in 2010. The Hawks made it to the playoffs, marking Jamal's first playoff appearance, and he did what he does best: score. They advanced past the Milwaukee Bucks in 7 games, with Crawford leading all scorers in the decisive Game 7 with 22 points. However, they were swept by Dwight Howard and the Orlando Magic in the very next round. The next season was similar for him, and he was widely touted to be the sixth man of the year again, although his average had dipped to 14.2 points per game. The Hawks beat the Orlando Magic in a tight series with Crawford hitting the game-winning three-pointer in Game 3.
Crawford for Atlanta. Shot clock at 4. Crawford for 3. Got it!
And they advanced to the conference semifinals but were eliminated by the Chicago Bulls in 6 games. The 2011-2012 season saw him donning the Trailblazers jersey, and what a season he had with them. Even the lockout couldn't contain him as he averaged nearly 14 points over 60 games and led the entire league in free throw percentage with a career best 92.7. And the Clippers saw this and they wanted him. Thankfully for them, their wish was granted as he signed with them for the 2012-2013 season. And it was another debut season that showed us just how good this guy was, as he averaged almost 17 points and 2 assists per game. In fact, he was so good, he finished second in the Sixth Man of the Year award just behind J.R. Smith, and even though the Clippers got bounced by the Grizzlies in the first round of the playoffs, Crawford put up solid numbers. The next season was pretty similar, with his knack of being exceptional week in and week out. It was expected at this point. He was literally the bench boss. He was the ultimate late game hero, never starting games, but always finishing them. Averaging 18 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists per game, his numbers improved from his previous season, and this time he was awarded for it. Jumped to May 8th, 2014, and Crawford won the Sixth Man of the Year for the second time. Not only that, but he also helped the Clippers to their best record ever at 57-25. And on December 8th, 2014, things got even wilder in an overtime game against the Phoenix Suns. This time, though, the events didn't quite go in his favor. In a 121-120 win, he got into a little scuffle with then guard Eric Bledsoe. And it didn't end there. After sharing some, quote, kind words with referee Mark Lindsay, Crawford got hit with a tech and a rejection, which was his first ever in 976 games, even though emotion can get the best of us sometimes. Shortly after, things were back to normal, and Crawford was again doing what he always does, as this time he has surpassed 16,000 points. Fast forward to January 10th, 2016, Crawford doing what he does, nailing his 46th career 4-point play in a 114-111 overtime win against the New Orleans Pelicans. Then, on April 8th, he hit a clutch three-pointer with just 0.2 seconds left, capping off a 30-point night in the Clippers' 102-99 overtime win against the Utah Jazz.
Clippers should win it or go to a second overtime. How about a kick back off here at 6? Crawford, he has Favors on him. He'll fire in Favors' face for the win. Bingo! Crawford knocks down a 3-ball with 0.2 of a second to go. Amazing! 30 points for Crawford.
And perhaps the icing on the cake, on April 19th, when Crawford was crowned the Sixth Man of the Year for the 3rd time. At 36 years old, he broke his own record as the oldest player to ever win the award, a record he set up in 2014, by the way. At this point, he was just competing against himself. And you see, when you're that good, you don't have many opponents. Games passed, records kept on tumbling, with him claiming the number 6 spot on the NBA's all-time list for made three-pointers with 1,962. Then, on February 6, 2017, during the game against the Toronto Raptors, Crawford hit another milestone, knocking down his 2,000th career three-pointer, becoming just the 6th player in NBA history to do so, joining an elite club: Ray Allen, Reggie Miller, Jason Terry, Vince Carter, Paul Pierce, and of course, Jamal Crawford now. In that same game, Crawford passed Eddie Johnson to become number 2 in career bench scoring with 9,572, trailing only Dale Curry. He also leapfrogged Magic Johnson to claim the 74th spot in career points scored. A few days later, he reminded the world once again why he's known as the best sixth man ever. He was literally on fire against the Bobcats, scoring 22 points and hitting 5 of 8 from beyond the arc. This performance propelled him past Vince Carter again, this time for the 5th most three-pointers made in NBA history with 2009 three-pointers. But great players are always looking for a new challenge, and it was no different for Jamal Crawford. And as the Clippers shipped him back to the Atlanta Hawks and the Hawks waived him the next day, the Timberwolves wasted no time signing Jamal on July 19, 2017. He made his debut in the season opener on October 18, 2017, dropping 10 points in a 107-99 loss to the San Antonio Spurs. Just 2 days later, he caught life for the first time in a Wolves jersey, scoring all 17 points in the fourth quarter, and of course, knocking down a clutch three-pointer with 27 seconds left to help the Timberwolves edge out a 197 win in their home opener. But the heroics kept coming. On December 18, 2017, he scored a season-high 23 points in just 23 minutes during a 108-107 win over the Portland Trail Blazers, with 16 of those points coming, of course, in the fourth quarter. He poured 24 points again in a tight 93-92 victory over the Dallas Mavericks. Sometime later, to top it all off, June 2018, Crawford was honored with the Teammate of the Year award, solidifying his reputation as one of the league's best teammates. In October 2018, Crawford inked a deal with the Phoenix Suns, leaving the Wolves after just one season. The franchise changed, but not his performance, as he dished out a career-high 14 assists in a 128-110 win over his ex-franchise, the New York Knicks. Then on January 6, he joined Dell Curry as the only player to have over 11,000 career points off the bench. Do you know how insane that is? 11,000 points off the bench. Look, Michael Jordan, LeBron James, whatever you want to call it, you can't question his greatness off the bench. And the thing is, he still wasn't done. Crawford was still balling, averaging 15 points and a career-high 6.8 assists per 36 minutes during the 18-19 season. In the history books, the only player to ever average more assists per 36 minutes in their 19th or later season is the legendary John Stockton. And do you see why I have the question as why he never became an All-Star? In that same season, in the finale against the Mavs, Crawford made NBA history by dropping 51 points, making his fourth 50-point game. At 39 years and 20 days old, he shattered 2 NBA records. He became the oldest player to score 50-plus, overtaking Michael Jordan's record at 38 years, and he also set the record for the most points scored by a non-starter, which was previously held by one Nick Anderson with 50 points. On that night, he was just unstoppable, shooting 18 of 30 from the field, 7 of 13 from 3, and 8 of 9 from the free throw line. He also filled the stat sheet with 5 rebounds, 5 assists, 1 steal, and a block, all coming off the bench. And despite the Suns trailing by as much as 31 points in the fourth quarter, Crawford sparked that rally, scoring 12 consecutive points to bring the game back within reach. Crawford scored 28 and 27 points in the 2 games preceding this, joining Kobe Bryant as the only player in NBA history to score 25 points in 3 consecutive games in their 19th season or later. He also became the only player in NBA history to score 50 points in a game with 4 different teams. All these records and no All-Star appearances, I'm literally shocked. I know the NBA can be a bit unfair at times, like we get it, snubs and stuff happen, but come on, man. Come on. And he still was out here doing his thing. He had 1 more season left in him as he signed with the Nets as a substitute player for the rest of the 2019-2020 season. The signing was due to 4 Nets players opting out of the NBA reboot in Orlando because of the whole COVID pandemic. Crawford made his debut with the Nets on August 4th, 2020 against the Milwaukee Bucks. At 40 years and 137 days old, he became the oldest active player in the NBA and the oldest player to ever suit up for the Nets. He also joined an elite group as the 8th player in NBA history to appear in 20 different seasons, sharing the court with legends like Vince Carter, Kevin Garnett, Dirk Nowitzki, and Kobe Bryant. In his only appearance for the Nets, he did what he does best and score, but this time it wasn't what we was all used to seeing, as he only scored a minimum 5 points, far less than the high standards he had set himself for. A hamstring injury meant that his debut was cut short just after 5 minutes, closing the curtains on a legendary career. He didn't play for any team during the 2020-21 season or the 2022 season. On March 21st, 2022, he officially announced his retirement from the league, closing the chapter on an illustrious career. But hold on, did his journey with the NBA end already? Nah, he transitioned into a media personality, finding his groove on TV. He loved the NBA and found a way to stick with it. The irony though, TV wasn't even on his radar. He never wanted to become a media personality, but fate brought him to TV and he himself admitted it, saying, "I thought I'd be a GM, to be honest with you. I thought I'd be in a front office, and I always thought that pretty much my whole career. I always loved putting teams together and visualizing what it'd be like. But the gods had something else planned for him." At 42, Crawford started guesting on Inside the NBA and quickly found himself loving the gig. TNT loved him as well and gave him the chance to call games. And the way he calls games, me personally, it's a joy to listen to. And Crawford enjoys working with Reggie Miller and Kevin Harlan. He says, "I'm up there with Kevin Harlan and Reggie Miller, and to me, they're some of the voices of the game, like they're on 2K, and in all the big moments, you hear them. They're like the soundtrack of the game, and I'm up there with these two legends, who I'm learning from every single day and having fun." His transition to the media side, which he called seamless, came on the heels of a dark period though. Talking about his depression, Crawford said, "I was like, I know I can still play. I won Teammate of the Year. Besides the 51-point game, I was averaging over 31 in my last month in the league, even at 39 off the bench, so I know I can still play. You can't question my character, so why am I not being signed? And 6 or 7 teams wanted me in the front office, so I couldn't figure it out." Can you really blame him though? When you're that good of a player and have been that prolific even at the latter stages of your career, retirement comes as a shock for you. No wonder he didn't announce it for 2 years. But he finally found peace at last, eventually shaking off the frustration when his TV career turned into a regular gig. Moving forward to 2023, Crawford added another feather to his cap by becoming a narrator. He returned to narrate the 2nd season of Chasing History, an NBA production that airs on League Pass via the NBA app. This show dives into the NBA postseason, covering both the play-in tournament and the actual playoffs. And who better at narrating than Crawford? Me, just kidding. He put his heart and soul into the show, and unlike his stints announcing games or breaking down basketball with legends like Charles Barkley, Shaquille O'Neal, Kenny Smith, and Ernie Johnson, this time, Crawford is the lone voice guiding viewers through the action. And despite flying solo, he's always been quick to give credit to his awesome support he's received throughout his journey. He says, "Every time I do it, I'm smiling. When I send it off, I say, tell me whatever you want me to do. Clean it up, or however you want me to say it. I'll do it 10 times. It doesn't matter because I want you guys to feel good about it. I'm honored to be able to do it." And the good thing is, he's just a supporter. Crawford has managed to steer clear of typical criticism that ex-players often face for undermining current players' efforts. Instead, he keeps his spotlight firmly on the game itself. Crawford also said, "Growing up, the game was always the most important thing to me, and I have to give BJ Armstrong a lot of credit. Before I even got into the business," he said, "when you get into this business, If you just keep the game the main thing, then just follow the game and the game will guide you. Crawford's upbeat attitude and knack for keeping up with the game's evolution has paved the way for him to solidify his second NBA career off the court. He finds himself in that perfect sweet spot he once talked about, where the transition from player to media personality has been surprisingly smooth. The balance lets him maintain a youthful energy while still coming across as an authority figure. Meanwhile, Crawford has used his platform to refer to the divide between former and current players as a disconnect. He used Shaq as an example to justify the point, saying, "Shaq, for example, isn't a hater by any means, but Shaq has a different way of challenging somebody, and I've come to understand that by working with him these last couple of years. His way is like, I may say something in a certain way, and it may come out harsh, but I'm just asking him to step up." Alongside JJ Redick, who just became the Lakers head coach, Crawford represents a new wave of former players who has seamlessly transitioned to the media side. They both understand what it takes to connect with both younger and older fans, bridging the gap between generations. He's done a very good job of guiding young players and showing them how to fulfill their dreams of going pro. A true legend on and off the field indeed. And that is the story of Jamal Crawford, the greatest sixth man ever that never became an all-star. Make sure you comment, like the video, subscribe to the channel, join our Discord, and I'll see you in the next one.